Earlier this morning, I told you guys that we'll be having a guest in the show this morning. We celebrated World Democracy Day yesterday, and of course, we're celebrating it today, I'm sure. And we have a renowned Comrade Benjamin Dennis, the Executive Director, Public-Private Initiative on Youth and Community Development. And he's here to give us a bit of shade on democracy and what we expect democracy to actually be. Welcome to the show, Comrade.
Thank you
Good
for
to have
having
you,
me.
Comrade.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, Comrade, over the years, during the military regime, everybody was fighting for democracy. Come back democracy, come back democracy. Everybody wanted democracy. And in 1999, Nigeria went into being a democratic country. And so far, we've celebrated, I think, about 20 years so far as a democratic country. Do you think we are actually in a democratic country?
Wow, what a question. I strongly believe that since 1999 that we got independent, let me rather say the independence of having our civil expressions from the military era that gave us the civil manner to operate what is obtainable in the modern global society, which we borrowed from, called democracy, which I believe on the 15th of September by the United Nations General Assembly is made to understand that it should be observed. It's a day to review the state of democracy globally. And as you know, it's also a day that we should look at educating and raising public awareness as regards democracy. But coming back to your question, since 1999 to date, have we actually been in democracy? I would say we've been in democracy and we've not also been in democracy. Because democracy has actually come to stay, whether you like it or not, globally. What I would rather look at is Nigeria following up what democracy actually gives globally. I would think we're gradually we're struggling to get there. And since 1999, we expect democracy in all ramifications to be the will of the people being recognized, the respect for human rights being recognized, whereby the people, apart from the electionary process, whereby people decide their leaders, it should go beyond that and actually see people bridging one of the major problems we have in Africa, using Nigeria as a missing link, where the public participation in governance has actually been a major problem, where the respect for human rights and the will of the people has actually also been the major problems. And these are the basic elements of democracy. Where those things are lacking, it becomes a problem. Where institutions are stronger than the people, whereby the political parties are stronger than the people that brought them into power.
Yeah.
These are basic problems. But I believe democrats have come to stay. We're just struggling to get there. And I believe Nigeria will get there.
So, talking about creating awareness, I would deviate you a little. Who exactly would you say a Democrat is?
A Democrat is one who actually believes in the ideals of respecting the will of the people. Because a Democrat is one who believes that the will of the people counts. Because the peoples are the majority and the leaders are the few. And looking at over 200 million Nigerians and few leaders, it will amaze you to understand that there's a misconception there. When people believe that leaders are only those who are in government office, it's not Democrats.
Yeah.
Democrat is when the will of the people who put you there matters. You got to see this play a major role when you come to the electionary process. You see most of those people who believe they are gods, political gods, go down to rural areas to seek for political votes, using one or two things to entice the people to vote for them. That is when you understand the ethics of democracy and where the power lies. If the power lies in the hands of the politicians, there wouldn't be campaigns. But there's a misconception somewhere. I believe Nigerians, the people that make up the nations, have a major political responsibility to play. Beyond just the awareness of the 15 global awareness, the United Nations General Assembly came up in 2007 that they believe that September 15 should be a World Democracy Day, and was first practiced in the 2008, if I'm not mistaken. And in 1999 till date, over 20 years, you find out that even those days that most of the African countries were still depending on big brother Nigeria. Like South Africa, you look at xenophobia today. Look at you, imagine South Africa dealing with Nigeria. If we know what we are doing and we believe in democratic practice, we will not be getting what we are getting today. It's a payback time. If we fail to do what we're supposed to do, when political leaders loot funds and go to other African countries to go and develop other African countries, and today you find out people like Niger, the Indians that used to come in the 80s to seek for whatever in Nigeria, today are the one giving us aid. Are we actually practicing democracy? And if you go further, you understand that the basics is the people. The people is the fundamental reason of democracy. Democracy will never strive without the people. Democracy gives the people the ability to put their leaders in power. And after putting them in power, what do we do in Nigeria? Complain and lamenting. Political parties taking the center stage instead of the people. Democracy doesn't have color, it doesn't have tribe, it doesn't have ethnicity. Democracy is patriotism, it is sacrifice, it is commitment, it's respect for the rule of law. And until the people wake up, we will see come back next year to talk about 15 September. And we'll still be discussing the issue we're discussing today.
Okay, sir. Thank you on that. Considering you're someone who is a director on an initiative that deals about the youth and the community, do you think the youth in Nigeria has been given that opportunity in this democratic government to actually come forward and perform their duties as the future of the nation?
I believe in one thing, I believe in one philosophy. The youth should create opportunity for themselves. You know, we don't look at giving opportunities. In the kind of setting of Africa where you talk about seat-tight leadership, you talk about leaders who doesn't want to leave power, you talk about leaders even when you don't vote them in, they are there. So what are you talking about? So you talk about these leaders you are talking about today. Those days, you find out that when they were youth age, they benefited all that this country provided for them. Now, we are in the same youth age. Are we demanding for it, or we take it by constructive thinking, or we come out to take it? They won't give you the power. They won't give you the chance to go there. It is the youth that will take what belongs to them. We believe that the youth is the energetic class of the nation, and the nation should be built on the young people. These elders will not quit until we quit them. And it is our civil right, as democracy provides, for the people to start to hold their leaders accountable. Beyond the 15th September, there should be continuous sensitization of public awareness, just like what the public-private initiative is doing. We came up with what we call Awake Nigeria Awareness Campaign in 2015 election, both in FCT and in Nasarawa State. That massively increased the number of youth participation in the last election. We did not just stop there, because it is a continuous process and strategic approach. We went ahead to establish what we call the community stakeholders town hall meeting. We don't, because there's no longer, we no longer have the existence of constituency service, the constituency centers. Constituency places are a medium for the people to meet with their leaders. It no longer function. We now created a community stakeholder town hall interactive meeting, whereby the community people can be able to participate in governance and call their leaders accountable. We went ahead to come up with scorecard, which we call the People's Performance Assessment Card on Good Governance and the Fight Against Corruption.
That's very good.
It is good for us, and recently, on Thursday next week, week 26, we came up with the missing link that has been missing in Nigeria. We call it the Community People's Office. Take it or forget about it. We have a public sector, we have a private sector, but we don't have the people's sector.
Yeah.
The people's sector, until we realize the people's sector, we cannot move democracy to the next level. The people must matter, not only when the leaders want us to matter. We need to make them to matter for us. And without all those things in Nigeria, we'll continue talking on programs, We'll continue engaging in events and programs, but there will not be any major impacts as sustaining democracy. Are we not looking at dividends of democracy? We are talking about democracy. What are the dividends that is being expected from that? It's also a major problem. I think we should be discussing in this meeting.
Wow.
Okay, I'm still on this youth issue. You talked about youths standing up for what is theirs and then thinking right and then creating a power around themselves. So we would say that definitely the youths in the past years have probably, or recently, the youths that have been given opportunity to serve are probably not really, because according to reports, have probably not really put in too much to the sector. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, if I have to rephrase. Good. So, as regards to that, our old leaders, per se, have come out to say that the youth are not ready to take power from them. As I don't know, I don't actually believe in that. What my own philosophy is this. When you're talking about the center, the Federal Capital Territory, where the presidency lies, you also have other departments like the state governors, the state assembly legislators, and you also have the local government chairman and the councillors. There's a misconception somewhere. So when you talk about unnecessary rural migration to the center, and when the center is being congested and a lot of information comes fusing from the center. I'm sorry, can you help us with what unnecessary rural
Yes,
migration?
because I believe, why I said so, the community base is the one that gave formation to the local government formation, and the local government gave formation to the states, then the state to the federal. There are some responsibilities that are lying fallow. There are technical things we should also fish out. Because I believe that the majority of Nigerians reside in the community base, not FCT. It's just that the 36th state of the Federation, everybody wants to come to the FCT to strive. That doesn't mean we don't have local government. That doesn't mean we don't have councillors who are the closest legislators of the community people. That doesn't mean we don't have state assembly legislators who are making law for the states. That doesn't mean we don't have a governor who is also supposed to be the chief executive director, security man of the states. The presidency is on its own. But the major focus we normally have is the issue that filter from the presidency, which I believe is a misconception. And the majority of people dwells in the rural community. Whatever that comes from the federal pollutes all the states. It becomes a problem. We cannot use that same approach to deal with the approach that is happening in different pockets of the community. There are people that we have given our votes that are supposed to represent our interests in the rural areas. And the rural areas form the larger chunk of Nigerians. The federal allocation go to the state now decide to, maybe they join local government and say that which is a problem, I don't want to go about that. Then how is the people in the community, hard-working Nigerians, young people, go to the community, see graduates selling pure water, selling whatever, you say they are not active? The problem I'm having with Nigerians is that we should take some political steps as citizenry. We should start to hold our leaders accountable. We should also key into government programs. We should look at what democracy implies is the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And when the people are not involved, the leaders will rule us the way they like. It's a misconception. The people are the landlord. You now give out your property to a tenant who in other ways supposed to serve you by the mandate given to them. But they take decisions without consulting the landlord. What we do in Nigeria is complaining and lamenting. Go to newspaper stand, you amaze you what young people are doing. Civil society organizations, NGOs, medias should take their awareness of democracy down to the rural community. Apart from awareness, should come up with initiative that will enable people sustain democracy. Just as I'm trying to explain to you, that there is a missing link in Nigeria. The gap that has to do with public participation in governance is a major problem. You can't get that until you start to deal with the issue of putting the missing link, which is the people sector. We have the public sector. We have the private sector. What is the people sector there?
Sector.
And democracy is talking about the people sector. If we got it right, the issue of seat-tight syndrome in leadership in Africa will not be there. Because when you are talking, people are not telling you this is what we want. It's not issue of coming up on political sentiment or whatever. It must have to do with patriotism, sacrifice of commitment to make sure that our rural community, that is the foundation. Everybody's coming to FCT. Without the community that gave, everybody is from the community.
That's true.
If you want to go with it directly, where do you come from? Even when they have used tribe and whatever to divide us and religions, they will still tell you you're from so place in the community. It is after your community that you will now know that it's the community that gave the formation of the talking about states. It must come from community before talking about federal. So why are we talking about the issue up there when there's a decay in the foundation?
The foundation.
So me, I believe that public participation in governance is key to sustain democratic dividends. And except the people comes in and understand that National Assembly is not the legislator, that's our problem. The councillor is our problem. The state assembly is our problem. How much does the governor collect every time? How has he been able to manage the affairs? And the community has to come up with what we call the community stakeholder town hall meeting. Why we call you to come in? The people has power. Yes. The problem is that they have not been able to exercise the power. That's why the leaders, they gave little part of the power through their voters card is dominating the power. There's a misconception. You are not just the person that's supposed to make the power. You are to serve. But in other way around, you are the one leading. Then we are now becoming servants. And we are talking about engaging programs. Even the United Nations General Assembly has not been able to come up with sustainable structures in Africa that will enable the people key in. The government themselves, are they supporting advocacy, public awareness? How can people hold their leaders from the roots accountable? If we don't do this, we'll continue pointing hand at the federal government. Why the governor is hiding behind collecting money, state assembly is hiding behind, even the National Assembly. You can imagine every problem focus on Mr. President.
Yeah.
How can we grow? And he's the one taking care of the federal executive, the issues. The state assembly is being delegated by somebody by the law. Local government chairman is also hiding. Even councillors who live within the people are also collecting money from the people, taxpayers' money, and is putting in his pocket.
Wow.
It's a major problem.
It's majorly like accountability. That's the most important thing.
Accountability, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Comrade, we'll talk about democracy, and there's no way we can remove that act of corruption in democracy. Because when you look at democracy today, people will talk about democracy is beautiful, democracy is what the people want. But you can agree with me that during the military regime, some of these corruptions are held in a very tight way. But it's like democracy, before you go to the judiciary, get the person arrested, it drags for a long time. So how do you think we can combat corruption in a democratic country? And do you think our judiciary system is actually being democratic as they should be?
I believe the people are the watchdog of democracy. And the people are stronger than institutions. The institutions are made to serve the people. And when you look at institutions not actually serving the people, there's a misconception, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. The people, as I said earlier, when you talk about accountability is holding the people you have delegated your mandate to account. In Nigeria, here after elections, we go home and relax. The issue of political issue takes over the day. Before the pre-colonial, I got to understand that there are people that actually put this nation in the right paths. We call them our forefathers. They were not as corrupt as the leaders we have today. You find out that even when the military took over with their decree and authority, I don't want to go in that area because I believe in democracy. But when the people that we expect that is taking the thought level should be able to learn from the colonial masters, from the military era, and behave like civil manner people who are not putting khaki or using force, who believe that the people will count, who actually believe that developing their nations, not stealing the wealth in this nation to go other African countries, counts. We got when we find out that some African countries used to come to Nigeria as Big Brother Africa to look for aids. Even the Indians and different people we see here today, the Nigels, they used to come during the 80s and late 70s to come down to seek for help in Nigeria. You find out that even our facilities, those days you used to see the assembly of cars. They used to assemble cars even in this nation. We have car plants. We have Ajakuta steels. Mention many. But when this politician came in, I don't just know what happened. They got it wrong. They forgot the blueprint that was given to them by our forefathers. They brought their new initiatives. Initiative that today we are in problem and they are also in problem. Because as long as you cannot develop your community, the moment you go down to your community, you'll be faced with kidnappers or robbers. It's a general problem. We must understand that other people that came to us to seek for help is today giving us aid is a major problem. It's a sad one. Democracy is bleeding and the people are helpless. But I believe there should be a reawakeness of the consciousness of the people to understand that institutions are not stronger than the people. The institutions are made to serve the people. And when the people continue to hold their leaders accountable from the roots, that is where the problem starts. There are 4 people hiding behind and one finger is pointing at us. That's the federal. Why other people are hiding? And where they are hiding is where we have capacity of Nigerians. Majority of Nigerians dwell there. And allocations and taxpayers' monies are going there. Nothing is happening. We need to get it right. Or we continue talking every 15 September on televisions and radios why the problems are there lying fallow for us. It's a wake-up call for both our leaders and everybody to understand that we must do what is right. And what is right is that the people must stand up, participate in governance, start holding leaders in all areas accountable beyond just waiting for election next year.
Wow. Thank you so much, Comrade Benjamin Dennis.
Thank you so much.
Our viewers, we still have Comrade Benjamin Dennis with us this morning, and you've heard what he said. Hold your leaders accountable. I wanted him to say a final note to the people, but I think he has already done that.
Of course, yes.
And we're hoping that come next election, everybody wakes up and understand that democracy lies in myself and yourself. Go out there and do the right thing. Hold the leaders accountable. Thank you so much. Daybreak Africa continues after this short break. Stay with us.